One of the most life-saving skills you can have in wildlife rehabilitation is the ability to assess hydration levels and give fluids. Dehydration will kill an animal much faster than a lack of food. This video will help you determine what fluids to use and how to administer them. As always, if you have questions, consult with your veterinarian or mentor. Hi, I'm Amy, the director of Fox Run and author of Getting Started in Wildlife Rehabilitation. What is dehydration? The basic answer is that dehydration happens because more water and fluids leave the body than enter it. Simple. The animal's body is 75% water. A neonate may be as much as 90% water. So losing water that is not replenished is a big deal. The most common source of dehydration that we see in neonates is from a lack of milk. Whether the mom is dead, sick, or injured, the baby is unable to nurse. Symptoms include poor skin elasticity, shrunken appearance, especially around the eyes. The eyes kind of look shrunken into the head. Lethargy, dry mucous membranes, and a fast but weak pulse. We often use tenting to check for dehydration and skin turgor. Dehydrated skin does not bounce readily back into place. It's stiff and remains in a tent shape for a period of time, depending on the severity of the fluid loss. When we get in a baby wild animal, the first thing we do is a brief exam to determine needs. Often, the first need is warmth, and I have a video I will link below on how to warm neonates. This is my goofy face getting a new incubator via Baby Warm. Rehydration is giving the animal fluids so that you can restore the lost water. Never feed the baby until after rehydration. This is very important. Baby animals should never be offered food until after they are rehydrated. Food and formula is food, can actually cause their system to shut down and kill them. Many times, finders inadvertently kill baby animals because they automatically want to feed them. If you are a finder, call a licensed wildlife rehabilitator or your veterinarian to assess what the baby needs. Even an animal that seems perfectly hydrated should receive fluids to help them transition to new foods. I give everything fluids to start with. For those of you that have taken the basics class with IWRC, you may remember the conversion charts. If those charts make you cross your eyes, there is an online calculator that I'll link below, provided by Wildlife Rehabilitator MD. When figuring the amount of fluids needed, you will consider that fluids are needed for daily body maintenance, for rehydration of lost fluids, and the replacement of fluids lost to excretion, sweating, and so on. I have some resources listed on the website. If you are new to wildlife rehabilitation, check out my video on how to become a licensed wildlife rehabilitator. That video talks about the steps you need to take and what qualifications you may need. There are several methods you can use to rehydrate. The method you use will depend on the health of the animal and the type of fluid you are using. The first is oral. This method works well if the baby is conscious and alert. I typically go with an unflavored Pedialyte. The unflavored can be hard to find, especially if you are in a rural area, so plan ahead and order or put it on your Amazon wish list. Using a syringe and a nipple, you can give warm fluids via the mouth. For young babies, my nipples of choice are the Miracle nipples, and I have them linked below. If you have a juvenile who is alert, you can just offer the fluids in a dish, but try to monitor precisely how much they drink. You can use sports drinks orally in a pinch, but you should use 50-50 with water. They have a lot of sugar in them. Sometimes I add about 25% to Pedialyte just to try to bribe the older ones to drink. This especially works well with raccoons. Don't use the oral method if the animal is unconscious, has neurological symptoms, or is having seizures. Tube feeding is another oral method. Tube feeding is a skill that needs to be learned from a vet, as it can cause death if done improperly. Some animals, such as opossums, are good candidates for tube feeding. Make sure you get some training on how to do this properly. Subcutaneous means under the skin and is often referred to as sub-Q. If an animal cannot or will not take fluids orally, then the subcutaneous method is the right option. This method is not quite as fast-acting because the fluids need to be absorbed by the body. A needle is inserted just under the skin, and the fluid is inserted via a syringe or a drip line. This is an easy technique to learn from a veterinarian or experienced wildlife rehabilitator. Here I am giving sub-Q fluids to a mink. This guy was pretty out of it and did test positive later for distemper. Remember your species and have another person on hand to help hold or restrain an animal. Steps to rehydrating a baby. Give the baby a quick exam and assess their medical needs. Warm the baby, like we talked about. Determine the level of dehydration and decide the method for rehydration. Weigh the baby and determine the amount. Warm the fluids to body temperature. Give initial fluids. Depending on age and species, you will continue to give fluids every 2 to 3 hours for the first 24 hours. Continue to assess baby vitals and monitor for improvement. Lactated Ringers is the brand most often used in veterinarian and medical offices. IV solutions require a prescription. I typically buy Ringers from a vet. You can also purchase from Chewy or KV Supply with a prescription from your vet. After 24 hours of fluids, you can start to make a slow switch to formula. This process is slow to allow the baby to adjust to a food source. Also, don't forget to keep giving replacement fluids until the baby is properly hydrated. You can still continue sub-Q fluids while switching to formula. You can also choose to add the replacement amount of fluids to the feeding schedule. When switching to the formula, start slowly. Observe the baby to make sure they are properly digesting each mixture and having normal toileting before moving on to the next level. There is a reason we are obsessed with pee and poop. In addition, animals can become dehydrated when they are under our care. Always monitor your baby's intake and outtake. Yes, be obsessed with how much they poop and pee. Some center reasons for dehydration are medicine and illness, formula is not the right consistency, feedings are not on the right schedule for age and species, and a lack of an additional water source. I make videos on wildlife conservation, nature education, and organic gardening. Leave me a comment on what videos you would like to see. In the meantime, check out my video on warming up babies in wildlife rehabilitation. Thanks for watching, and have a fabulous sunny day.